This is every trade you need to make before week 6 of fantasy football, including what to do with Omari and Hampton. We're going to start off here with Nico Collins, who's been crushing so far lately for fantasy football. He's got 14 points, 22, 12 points, 16 points. Overall, been a very successful season outside of week 1. Now, the receptions really haven't been that strong. He had 8, which is awesome, but then 4 and then 4. But this game against Baltimore was a little bit odd. They were dominating almost the entire time, and he did have that touchdown. He also had a rush, which we love to see. He didn't have that much target share. You can see that this was a little bit of an odd game, 16%. Most weeks he's in the almost 30% range. So this was just a different game, but we see this as a top-tier player on a team that's finally figuring out their pass attack. Your league mates may look at the 4 receptions and be like, I'm selling, I'm done, I'm getting out of this. When Nico Collins is a player we definitely want to have, especially with a little bit of a difficult schedule. They do play Denver, they do play the Colts, who try to take away the number 1 wide receiver. But outside of that, this schedule is pretty friendly to Nico Collins because they will be needing to pass. Even in the tougher games, they won't be building leads, which is why I want to get him right now, especially coming off a 4 reception week, and he's going on to the bye week. Because you know your league mates, they think they're good enough to trade out of all their buys. They never have to deal with a bye week. So if you trade for Nico Collins now, you can get him at a discount and someone that's going to help you win that fantasy football championship, especially with a good playoff schedule. Another player I want to trade for immediately is Courtland Sutton. He's been awesome for fantasy football. The only week he hasn't been good is against the Colts, and we talk about that every time they take away the number 1 wide receivers. But you look at his stats so far this season, 6, 5, 8 touchdowns in 3 out of 5 games, snap share, route share, targets, everything that you want in a fantasy football player. But the thing is, when you go to Courtland Sutton's projections in Sleeper, you look on ESPN, you look at whatever app you play on, he's under-projected every single time. He's literally crushed his projection in 4 out of the 5 weeks so far, and he's definitely a player that deserves more respect. You can see in WalterPicks, we actually go through and make these projections. I'm on the projections team. We have a real team of people helping with these, and you see that we have him at 18 points against Dallas. He does have a little bit of a tougher matchup against Sauce Gardner, but I still want to get Courtland Sutton for my team, and I'm willing to buy high. Another player I want to buy high is Mason Taylor. I know that he may be on waivers, so I'm definitely trying to add him there. I'm spending pretty much all of my fab to get him for my team, but you also look at the targets, the receptions. It's been growing each week. You do not want to give this guy up because look at the receptions here. He had 1, 4, 5, then 9 receptions. You look at the snaps, his snap percentage, it's been pretty strong all season long. Look at the targets, 1, 2, 6, 7, 12 targets. Look at the target share as well. If we go back to him, 27%, 26% the previous week. He's literally almost the tight end 1 the last 2 weeks in target share, if not the tight end 1 the last 2 weeks in target share. Mason Taylor is a must grab for your team. But the reason I want to trade for him now is because when someone adds someone off of waivers, they generally value them a little bit less than they should. Another player I want to trade for right now is Justin Jefferson. He's been really great with Carson Wentz. Now, J.J. McCarthy will probably be back at some point, but I like the schedule. You look at this schedule, especially in the fantasy football playoffs, Dallas, the Giants, Detroit. I don't care who the quarterback is. Those are amazing matchups that you want to have for your team. He's also going to buy this week a lot like Nico Collins. So someone in your league, especially if they have a bad record, they may have a bad record and they may say, well, I don't want to lose this week. I can't afford to go down to 1-5 or 2-4. So I'm going to make some trades. And this could be the week to buy Justin Jefferson. One player in particular is Drake London. Now, I don't know if I want to sell him completely, but for Justin Jefferson, I think I probably would. And Drake London already had his buy. So players that already had their buy do have a slightly increased trade value. Trade for Justin Jefferson with a player like Drake London, who's already had his buy, would probably get accepted in your league. Breece Hall is a great trade for target as well. It's Mason Taylor, it's Garrett Wilson, it's Breece Hall. And this week was a great matchup against Dallas, and he really showed up and had a great game. You look at the targets, really great target share, 6 and 5. That kind of target share gives an extremely solid floor. You look at the rush attempts, 14 rush attempts with 6 targets. He's getting 20 touches a game. That's great volume. And they really don't have anybody else to go to, especially in the red zone. So with his rush yardage looking extremely solid, he's looking great on the ground. He's making big plays with the receptions. This is a player I'm trusting for the rest of the season. Plus, if he does get traded, that may even be a blessing because he does have a few tough games kind of off and on throughout the season. So Breece Hall, a player I'm trying to get for my team, and I'm willing to pay up to get him. I do think that this 16, 17 points per game that he's been getting is something that he can continually achieve. Quentin Johnston. We're going to talk about 3 different Chargers players in this video, and the first is Quentin Johnston. We are going to talk Omari and Hampton next, but this is a player I'm trying to trade for. We look at his schedule so far. He's been excellent. 24 points, 15, 23, then a bad week. He had 7 points. He only had 4 catches. One of the issues here is the injury to the offensive line because the offensive line is injured. Justin Herbert has less time to develop his routes, less time to watch his wide receivers out there. He's taking a lot more quick targets or scrambling around a little bit more, which does not help Quentin Johnston with his timing of his routes. But I do think that getting him a rush this game shows, hey, we got to keep this guy involved. This is his first time he's had positive rush yards this season. The snaps weren't amazing. The route rate was not amazing. We saw Ladd McConkey. We'll look at him as well in this video. Not great on his route percentage either. And it was just a tough game against the Commanders. Omari Hampton took an injury. Just an overall bad game for the Chargers. I'm not going to hold that against them for the whole season. Say, this guy's cooked. This guy's done. It's over. The honeymoon is over. He's no longer going to be good. That's just not the case here. He's been great this season. Now, Hampton is a buy low and a sell low based on your record. If you're 5-0 or if your team's in good shape, like me personally, in one of my leagues, I've already sent trades to try to get Omari Hampton for my team, because I can wait the 4 weeks for him to come back and start dropping 24, 25 points again in my starting lineup. Now, he's going to be on IR. He's going to miss at least 4 games. So if you have a bad record or your team's not looking so good or you don't have any depth, I think he's someone that you should trade away. Go to the team that's 5-0. Go to the team that's 4-1, even 3-2, and say, hey, I can't wait for Hampton to come back. He's a guy that scores 25, 27 points a game. We saw that in week 3, week 4. He struggled a little bit in week 5. He still scored 13 points. He's a great player. You kind of say all that, but I can't wait for him to come back. You can. So give me a good player in return. I need a good player in return. I'm not going to let anybody else win if I get nothing in return, but I would try to sell him for some value for your team if you have a losing record. But if you have a winning record, I'm trying to buy him as cheap as possible. And I'm going to say the opposite thing. Be like, hey, you can't afford to hold this guy for the next 4 or 5 weeks or 6 weeks. We don't know yet. That's what I would say. You can't afford to hold him that long. Let me give you someone you can play in the meantime. It'll at least give you a shot. And of course, I get the benefit of not having this guy for 6 weeks, then having him for the playoffs. Ladd McConkey had a little bit of a weird game as well because he was pretty actually good for fantasy football, finally scoring over 10 fantasy points for the first time since week 1. But most of it is not impressive. We see that the snaps in this game weren't that great. The snap percentage not great. Route rate was pretty dang terrible compared to the rest of the season. Now, the one bright shining star is the target rate, the target share. That was at least solid at 22%. That was his second highest since week 1. But 7 targets lines up pretty much with what he's been seeing all season long. Receiving air yards was a little bit better as well. But overall, this was about the same stat-wise across the board for Ladd McConkey. Only difference, he added on the touchdown. So without that touchdown, obviously, if you take away someone's best plays, they score less fantasy points, but he's not going to score a touchdown most weeks. So far, he hasn't been a prolific touchdown scorer with Quentin Johnston, with some sort of running back, with Keenan Allen scoring a lot more touchdowns than Ladd McConkey. This was his first one of the season for a team that scored a lot of touchdowns. That's all I'm saying here. So I'm not going to count on it week in, week out. I'm looking at his other stats, and his other stats say bench this guy in fantasy football. So I would look to try to sell Ladd McConkey. Another player to trade away is your backup quarterback, especially someone like Sam Darnold. 28 points, 4 touchdowns. That's just not going to happen every week. So far this season, he hasn't scored over 18 fantasy points. This is an outlier against the Buccaneers, a team you absolutely have to pass against. So I'm going to show you exactly how I would make this trade. So I'm going to go over in the WalterPicks app. You can see I've got a synced league here. I'm going to go to the My Team tab, and then I'm going to go to the My League tab. And this is going to show you exactly who you want to trade with. So what you do is you head down to the team strength and weaknesses, and you want to find the team with the worst quarterback in your league. So in this league, unfortunately, it's me. So I'm going to click on the team with the worst quarterback, but I've got Jake Browning and I've got Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback. Now, I do have Bijan and Drake London on the bench. My starting lineup is going to look a little bit better this week, but with my quarterback situation, it's rough. So I'd find the person in your league that has the worst quarterback and try to send them a trade plus another player. This is a great opportunity if you have a good backup to upgrade one of your positional players.